How you doing?
You hear me?
I can hear
Good.
you.
Perfect.
Nice. Where are you from, man?
I'm from Switzerland.
Wow, okay, cool.
Well, well, I need to turn off the Twitch first.
Yeah, I heard your accent, so I was
Yeah, yeah,
curious.
yeah.
So, what's
So,
your deal,
yeah.
man? You signed up for a coaching session, you're here. What's your
Mm-hmm.
MMR? I see that you
I'm,
play like mid-carry-ish, is what I'm seeing.
yeah, that's true. So I'm like 3K MMR, playing since, well, almost 6, 7 years.
Okay.
I'm like stagnating on this level.
Okay.
Feel like I'm kind of too greedy and uh, have no map awareness and like the mid game. Usually don't know what to do wandering around and like hitting creeps and
Sounds like my
finally lose
teammates,
the
yeah.
game. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. Cool.
So,
So, definitely, you can do exactly what you're doing, but better and make it to
mhm.
5K and 6K.
Mhm.
That's proven by the teammates I get in my games, but we're not going to really, try to um, encourage that. So what I generally do, I don't know how many of my coaching sessions you've watched. Just to give me some context, how many have you watched?
Well, like 3, 4 by now.
Okay. So generally speaking,
Yeah.
I just try to think of like the right questions to ask yourself, and then figure it out from there in terms of like throughout the course of the game. The way to get better, in my opinion, is to think about the right things. So I'm gonna be giving you some reminders, some things to think about that, or like triggers for helping
Mhm.
you think about the right things. So let's go ahead and just pull up these replays one by one. I'll share screen on Discord right after I pull them up. You came quite prepared. So we have a Viper win. So I guess going into it, is this a mid Viper?
Yeah.
Okay, so what's like, if you could give me your best summary of Viper's like strengths and weaknesses, as much or little as you think you can give, go ahead.
Well, she's like good in pushing out the lanes
Okay,
and farming creeps, stacking creeps, and
absolutely.
getting
Any weaknesses?
pressure weaknesses. Hmm. Catching up with people, I think.
Okay.
In a way that if you're not having autos or like force stuff, you don't get to your opponents.
Yeah, for sure. So lacks catch mobility, has a lot
Mhm.
of flash farming, tank ability.
Mhm.
Doesn't really win his lane anymore. Doesn't really lose it either. Kind of just trades. I
Mhm.
feel like almost every lane matchup except for a few.
Mhm.
Let's go ahead and turn on screen share. Can you see that, sir?
Mhm.
Cool. Okay, so let's see. Starting off, buy yourself a ward, I guess, or no? You didn't buy a branch. Okay. Usually, I highly recommend a branch. Seems pretty basic, but gives you the ability to
Okay.
tango from the river without having to walk back to the trees. Fast forwarding. So generally speaking, with Viper, I'm not a huge fan of Bottle because a lot of heroes that buy Bottle are heroes that want, or that are like mobile, and it's like in their
Yeah.
benefit to go pick up runes and use them. So like I'd say the only rune Viper really uses from a bottle to like gank would be a haste rune, and
Mhm.
all the other runes you'd kind of just pick up and then go on your merry way. So I guess like when I think of bottle heroes, I think of heroes like Queen of Pain, Storm Spirit, Kunkka, these heroes that when they pick up these runes are gonna go do shit with it. Viper is kind of like Medusa. He doesn't do shit with,
Okay.
like, he just kind of chills mid, throws out another toxin on the creep wave, throws out another toxin on the creep camps, and that's what he's gonna do. So with
Mhm.
these types of heroes, I generally speaking don't like items that signify you're gonna do something opposite. So a lot of items in the game have very like they have implications. I buy this
Mhm.
item and I'm gonna do this. So whenever I see people buying items that tell me the wrong thing about their hero, I generally try to bring it to their attention that this is why I think it's wrong, because you're telling me by buying this item that that's how you plan to play.
Uh-huh.
So like
Okay.
I bought a bottle on Alchemist. I'd say he's like maybe one of the few exceptions, but that was because they didn't really have the best rune contest. And Alchemist is actually a decent rune pickup, be like decent at picking up runes because he has like 308 base movement speed, while Viper has 278. So it takes him a lot longer to basically get places. So fast forwarding here, Just something to think about. Okay. So far, so good. My opinion on Viper. How many games of Viper had you played this patch before this moment?
Like 20,
Okay.
20-ish.
So
Yeah.
I guess like in the least insulting way possible, have you found you have enough mana to use your shit by leveling
No,
W
that's
and
why I
Q?
buy. That's why I buy the bottle. So
Okay. So generally speaking, I don't think there's enough mana items in the game you could ever buy to have enough mana to support spamming your Q and your W on Viper. So what I've seen every Viper do is they either max Q or they max W, period. Like they'll go 202 or 032. They never put points in both. You just don't have enough mana. Like you just don't. So
okay.
like I'd say really no in the nicest way possible, the only wrong skill build you can have at 2 would be 1-1. Like that's like the only wrong skill build I can think of. Usually people go to like 0-1-1 or 1-0-1. Like meaning they usually go 0-1-1. Usually they put Nether Toxin level 1. But I just look at this as like this is half of this, and like all you're doing is trading on Viper. So I don't think you're gonna bully a troll. He's a pretty strong laner. So I look at my opponent and I think my W means all I really do is plan to farm, while my Q means I want to use this to like dominate the lane. And so I look at a hero like Troll and I think that he's a pretty strong laner. I don't necessarily crush him. So I'm just going to level my ability that allows me to just flash farm and push out the wave. So that's what I'm thinking here. So just going to keep spamming it. Okay, so now you have 1-1-1. Notice how you haven't used your Q a single time since you got it. Okay, you stack camps. Okay, you used it once. So those 2 Qs you use there, I feel like those are the, like those should be the W that you got for like a camp or something. I'm just pointing out little things that it's backfiring on. So when you're flying yourself the courier, if you see this and you have a bottle coming out, you definitely should have just waited. If Troll's like, what you do is you kind of posture here. You see 2 heroes top, so you know nobody on neither of them's going for the rune. And you see Troll, so you have all the information. So this is a little thing, but it all adds up, you know. Wasted skill point. You're now sitting with... Actually, I need to remove my minimap overlay for the viewers as well as the replay here. 1 second. You don't get covered by it, but everyone else does. Okay, so you see, yeah, you see the 2 heroes top and you see the troll. So there's just no reason to pick this up before your bottle. Let's see. So it seems like you're being a bit hesitant. I feel like with Viper at this point, the problem I have is, how do I word this? So jungle's been buffed a lot. So I feel like if I'm jungling and I'm like stacking and stuff, I'm basically getting more out of the lane than the other guy. If not, like, I'm at least getting as much. If not, I'm getting more. If I'm not getting, if not getting more. So like, it's at least as much, sometimes more. On heroes like Viper, it's basically more. So it feels like you're kind of glued to the lane. And what I mean by that is like right here at 340.
Yeah.
You're kind of like hesitating here. Like you're kind of like, I don't really know what to do. Don't, you know, I'm back and forth. And then you go stack a camp. And I'm kind of under that impression that I ask you, these are things to think about. Are you shutting down this troll's farm at all by being in lane?
I don't think so, no.
Okay. So the reason why I'm asking you these specific questions is these are the reasons why you would be in lane. Okay. So are you shutting him down? No. Are you absolutely free farming if you're in the lane?
No, he's denying quite a lot.
Yeah, he's able to deny. Yeah. And is he killing your tower right now?
No.
So what is your obligation to the lane? It's nothing. Like, if you think about it, right? Like, you're not free farming it. You're not shutting him down. And he's not taking your tower. Those are really the main things. Like, when I say you're not shutting him down, yeah, please, for the love of God, do not be jungling while he's killing your tower, right? Like, so when I'm in this situation as like a Razor, Viper, Alchemist, all I'm concerned about is I don't shut this guy down. I'm going to farm jungle until he pushes my lane in. basically. And the only times I'm back in lane is when there's nothing better to do. And what I mean by that is jungling in this case. Like, if there's no jungle to have, like, say you killed these two camps, and there's, like, a lane sitting right here, like, yeah, sure, go back and farm it. Like, I'm not telling you to never go back to lane. But you kind of just, like, I feel like when I watch players in your bracket, people make, like, very indecisive, like, they don't they don't gauge the lane matchup. They're not thinking, what am I doing to this guy? Like, what is my impact that I have on him? And so, like, those are the reasons you would stay in lane. One, you're shutting down the other guy. Two, it's like you're getting absolute free farm, so it's technically more efficient. Three, you're defending your tower. So if you're not shutting the guy down, check that off. If you're not free farming, check that off. So what's the only time you go back to lane? When it's killing your tower, right? And then, like, a lot of other problems come into play when it comes to defending your tower. Like, do you walk this way to get back there? Do you walk this way? Like, based on what heroes are ganking, what hero you're against mid. There's, like, a lot of factors that now go into that. But the first step out of that is to make sure you're doing the right thing in the first place. There's kind of like a two-step, like, make sure you're doing the right thing, and then do the right thing correctly. So the first step is getting you to do the right thing. So you do this, like, efficient double stack thing.
Radiant's bottom tower is under attack.
So these are the types of matchups you need to gauge. So the way to get better at Dota is mainly just through experience and recognizing what you learned from that experience. How many times have you queued this guy? Have you used your first ability on him?
Not at all.
Like, twice, I think. Does he give a shit that you used it on him? No.
No.
So this is a matchup where, like, you should think to yourself, it doesn't have to just be troll. It can be similar matchups, meaning matchups you don't think you win. If you don't, when I say you don't win, it's like, you shouldn't lose because you're a Viper. Like, I feel like you could easily be level 5 if you were just maximizing W and E and then farming these jungle camps. And you do have some stacks, so you'll get some, like, flash levels pretty quickly. But, like, oh, did you say something? Sorry?
No.
Oh, okay. So, like, that's the point is when I tell people, your bracket's a lot about these minor inefficiencies that really add up. So I think of items, I think of skills, I think of, like, the little hesitations going around here. These things build up a fucking shit ton. That's why if you play, like, a 7.5k stack versus a 6k stack, these little extra things will just win in the game because they have a level on you on every hero, and then you just take a fight and you lose because you're down by, 3,000 experience for things that are just little. So it's kind of like a gradual process all the way up. Like, it's not like this is the difference between 3 to 4k players, the difference between 4 to 5k. Like, it just gets better as you go up. So Bottle, like I said, kind of you're not a hero that's going to use these runes to gank. You're not a threat when you're off map. So, like, if you think about it, if the opponent's not terrible, they know exactly what you're doing in the game. Like, you're just rotating between mid and jungle, and that's all you're going to do. So Vipers that I watch, and I've actually played a bit of Viper myself, they just pretty much rush Atos or Mana Boots like you're doing, and they just fly themselves, like, 5 clarities. Like, it's less gold at the end of the day, and by the time you run out of health and mana, it's shrine time anyway. Like, you'll be flash farming the jungle, and you just don't make use of runes. So you're paying 650 gold instead of 250 gold. And you may say BSJ, but, like, that 650 gold is an item, while that other 250 is just consumables. It's like, but you're not using this bottle anyway, meaning, like, it's just for the same purpose. So these are, like, little things you can cut out that add up a shit ton. That's 400 gold, right? So it just builds up pretty quick. This guy's out leveling you, but it's not, like, terrible. So let's see. Fast forwarding. Get these kills. Okay, yeah, definitely just... Okay, so now you got to relieve the pressure on the catapult. Okay, so now you just back off the jungle, okay? Okay, picking up on the efficiency now. Okay, this is better. You're being less indecisive. You're like, okay, pushing this lane and back off. You could do this earlier. Usually level 3 with Viper. The level 2 Nether Toxin is enough. So he leaves. You're not a hero that rotates. See him TP out. He's mid on gyro. You can definitely pressure that. This is good. With this regen rune, I probably would have been a bit more efficient and farmed this jungle camp right here. Something to think about. You can just, like, no reason to walk back to where you are, right? You saw 2 top. You see 1 here. You see 1 here. So you're perfectly safe to just walk over here and farm this with that regen rune. Just a little thing. Something to think about.
Okay.
Let's see. Okay. So this is a perfect example of a difference between, like, I'm just giving you a perfect example, difference between a 7k and a 3k, like, shown in one small thing. A 7k would have farmed this creep camp right here and not let this guy hit a single creep for free. A 3k farms the wave like he did and then backs off and farms these 2 camps while this level 4 gyro farms for free underneath his tower. He already farmed a wave. So basically what I'm saying is you need to constantly draw a line on the map where I'm saying you're allowed to play this far up. Okay, so like, I feel like a lot of people don't think about this, and if you start thinking about this, what's going to end up happening is you're going to be wrong sometimes, and you're going to feed, okay? You're just going to die. Like, you're just going to look like an idiot. But the thing is, there's no better way to learn. You just have to push it. Like, you just have to push your limits. So, like, if you're level 8 and this guy's level 4, and you saw the opponent mid-TP out, I'm just giving you a bunch of reasons why suddenly you're allowed to play here rather than having to play here. So... This is something that constantly updates in the game. It just constantly changes. So all I'm telling you, the main emphasis here is try every game at every moment to have a general gauge of where you're allowed to play. So I don't need you to perfectly analyze it, but I know that it's something people in your bracket don't tend to do. And people just, like you said, you kind of just sit back, not knowing what to do, jungling camps. So it's like, you know what you want to do right now. Like, you know you're just rotating between mid and jungle. So it's like, every jungle camp has a purpose, okay? This jungle camp means I don't give a fuck about life. Like, nobody kills me. It's super aggressive right next to the tower, cut creeps instantly, kill it, right? These camps mean I can't really do anything to this tower. They're safer, so I'm just going to rotate between killing the wave right here and right here. A lot about what jungle camps you're allowed to farm in any lane is based on how powerful enough you are to push the lane, okay? So what I mean is, if you're at a weaker stance in the mid lane, meaning you're against a guy that pushes the lane better than you, the lane's almost always going to be at your tower, right? So naturally, there's no way in fuck you're ever going to farm this because the lane's here. So like, if you use your wave as like a barrier in terms of like, it does protect you, and it does give you information, and it does tell you a lot of the time where you're allowed to farm. It's not a perfect indicator, but it tells you a lot of the time. If I'm an offlaner, I feel much more comfortable farming this camp if the wave's right here than I do if the wave's right here, right? So it's like, if the wave's underneath his tower and nobody can do anything to you, that's when you can start considering this camp. And it applies in every lane, right? It's just like, and the reason why that it's so much better as a carry player and why this is end up being the dead lane for your team is because if you take this tower, what creep camps does having the lane here as opposed to here open up for you? If you're on Radiant. Sorry, if you're on Radiant and you kill this tower, what creep camps are now safe that were previously not? Do you feel safe here?
Well, yeah, I think so.
There's a shrine right here.
Yeah,
On the opponent's side. You're Radiant now. I'm sorry, I know I made this a bit confusing. You are Radiant. Does it really help you that much to kill this tower? What camps get opened up by having the lane right here? Is this safe?
No.
No, it doesn't do anything. But if the wave, instead of being right here, is down here, what does that open for you?
The easy camp down there.
Yeah, and this feels perfectly safe too, right? And sometimes it can be this one, even. But if this lane's like right here, this camp's never happening, and this camp's probably not happening. So, like, the reason why carries like to rotate and take the opponent's safe lane tower is because it just opens up 2 camps for them. And a lot of jungling, when you're ahead, is based on what camps are free. It gets a little more complicated when you're really far behind, because you kind of have to play, like, super dodgy, which is, like, really hard to explain, honestly. But I'm just giving you you're winning your, or, like, you're in control of your lane right now. Nobody's stopping you. Now, don't let a level 4 gyro get free farm under his tower, right? Like, that's basically what I'm trying to say. Don't give people the space they don't deserve. Okay, so we're playing it out. Small things like this, but they're really important thoughts you can have to yourself. Something I'll probably try to point out next game as well when you're playing a different hero. Okay, that was interesting. Little bit of an, I would say, way over aggression there. What?
No. I think you're saying I should have said, but like probably suicide then.
I think that you're a Viper, and the only thing that could ever go wrong here is you dying, and there's no reason to ever be playing like this. Like, I view that as a hero like Viper, as a hero like Necro, as a hero like PL, which is like another carry example in the early to mid game, their abilities naturally just shove waves. PL once he gets 6, Necro with his Q, Viper with his W. You just shove the wave in. So these type of heroes accelerate really fast in the game because they just protect themselves by shoving the lane over and over again. But all of these heroes lack mobility in the early game. Yeah, PL is Doppel, but it's really only like a decent escape mechanic in terms of distance that it gets rid of. So the way these heroes protect themselves is by shoving lanes into towers and then forcing people to come to those lanes. And because they see people farming the creep wave, they're protected. So what that creep wave is doing is it is shielding you from the opponent. So the last thing you should ever do is be ahead of the creep wave, right? Like, that's just not what should happen. The difference is if you saw a 4-man fight going on top and you know 100% that gyro is alone with no potential of getting any help, sure, go ahead and do that, right? But like, that was not the case, right? So like, for the most part, I want you to experiment with how powerful it is to simply shove lanes in over and over again. Like, you can just keep doing it, right? Like, in your bracket especially, like when I'm playing against like 3-4K players, they just look stupid because they're trying to gank me when their lanes are at their towers. And it's like, you guys realize how obvious it is you're ganking me because all of your lanes are at your towers and you're not farming them. Like, so I'm telling you, it just gives you so much information and so much power to use creep waves as a shield for you as an information giver, as well as just saying, like, if you're not farming these, I know where you're not. Like, I know you're doing something because they're choosing to do something over farming creeps that are underneath their tower. So that's just a big deal. Like, overextending, like, definitely, it's just not worth the risk. Maybe you kill this gyro, but like, you're a level 9 Viper that's absolutely free farming. What are the point of going for kills? What do kills do for you?
Well, giving me farm levels.
Okay, so we're gonna not be noobs here and act like kills give no golden XP, because that's the last reason you ever go for a kill. What do kills give you?
They make, well, the team weaker, so we, I think, can push or something like that. I don't know.
So the way I look at kills is, because I killed that guy, I can now do something that I could not previously do.
Alright.
So if you killed that gyro, what were you going to do after that?
Well, not that much.
Weren't you just going to keep pushing the tower and farming creep camps?
Yeah.
Is that what you were doing before?
Exactly, yeah.
And if you hadn't killed that gyro or gone for that kill, that's exactly what you would be doing?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a great question to ask yourself, okay? So I ask, when I say this, okay, the question, the like series of events that goes through your mind is, what do I want to be doing right now? So if you're saying you're a Viper and you're trying to farm, what if there's like a Razor in the mid lane that if you walk into his lane, he just links you and you have to like run away and it sucks? In that case, maybe you call for a gank. Maybe you like try to make something happen to kill that guy, because killing that guy allows you to do something you could not previously do. But it's like, if I'm a farming hero and I'm like, I'm just going to push this tower or I'm just going to farm these camps, the only kills I'm going for are things that are stopping me from doing what I want to do. Like, that's all that matters to me. So, like, if you're a really strong hero, like a mobile mid laner, something like a Monkey King, then, or a Kunkka, these type of heroes think the same way, but instead, you're not only doing this, like say you're doing this as a Kunkka, you're also looking at the opponent team and saying, they're not allowed to cross this line, like up here. Like if you're on Diary, they're not allowed to cross this line. If they cross this line, I'm TPing in and killing these guys. They're not allowed to cross this line. I'm TPing in and killing these guys because of whatever heroes they have. So like on these more active heroes, you can not only do this like farming thing, but you can also say, while I'm farming, I am strong enough to prevent the opponent team from doing this if they try to, right? Like I'm not going to let them overstep. Like I'm going to draw a line in the sand of saying, I'm strong enough to shut this down. So you're a Viper, you offer very little catch, but you are powerful, right? So if you TP in, where would the line be for you if the opponent team was in this lane? Where would you TP? Like, when would you TP? What would the opponent have to cross? Where's the line for you? Is it here? Is it here? Is it here?
Well, right before the tower, I think.
I'd say it's right around the tower, right? Because you have to be able to TP in front of their faces, like, and catch them with your ultimate, right? But as a Monkey King or a Kunkka, maybe they could just walk, like, right here, and you just TP in and you jump on the tree and catch them, right? So it's just like, if you're asking yourself that, then guess what? All you have to do is just farm creeps and then pay attention to when any of that shit happens. Like, and if any of that shit happens, then you know what to do. So the point is, like, I'm getting you to ask yourself questions because when it talks about, you say, like, not knowing what to do on the map.
Yeah.
Yeah, I ask myself, what do I want to be doing? And then, so this is, like, my status quo. Like, this is what I want to be doing. What changes that? Meaning, you know, is there someone that's going to get in my way? Do they have to die? Do I just go push them away? Like, do I just, you know, bully them? You know, how much are they allowed to farm? Is this level 4 Gyro allowed to be taking mid lane while I'm farming? You know, am I a threat if I go to this lane? Like, there's a bunch of little things you can think about, but it's just like, what do I want to be doing in this game? So it's like, you know what you want to be doing. You've played Viper, you said 20 times, and you are doing the whole rotating between lane and jungle and things. But the only time you go for kills is when they help you do what you want to do because you couldn't already do that, right? Like, or you say, you know, I'm controlling this mid lane. If anybody steps past this line, they're fucking dying, right? Like, then, you know, that's basically saying, you know, when they're out of position. So it's like, maybe you think he's out of position underneath his own tower. I'm not sure, you know, like, it could be a lot of different things. But I can only tell you that if your kill doesn't change what you're going to do in the game, it's almost always wrong. So let's just, I know I went on a decently long tangent there, but let's go ahead and play it out. Okay. I think you've missed about 5 farms on this camp, by the way, at this point. Maybe 3. At least 3 times that you could have farmed the medium camp there and you didn't.
Yeah.
Just something to think about.
Wasn't even thinking about that camp.
Yeah, a lot of people don't. The only reason I think about these mid camps is because I watch mid laners. Okay, so he ends up getting denied. Not a huge deal. Okay, so now we try to minimize the passivity on the map. This is something that... Okay, so you can kill this camp. That's fine. So what... You're really strong, right?
I think so, yeah.
Okay. So, what is needed from you to be strong?
The Rod of Ados.
Okay, so now that you've hit this Rod of Atos, are you powerful at this very given moment right now?
No, I don't have any mana.
You don't have any mana. So,
yeah.
If we're trying to get better at Dota, a lot of people don't realize it's actually just a lot about pressuring, even in low tiers. Like, it doesn't matter, like, you know, you think, like, I want to just be efficient, but it's a lot about pressuring. So, how long are you allowed to not have this mana for?
Sorry?
How long are you allowed to not have this mana?
Until my tower is pressured.
I would say you're not allowed to not have this mana. So by the time you've gotten to this stage, I'd say it's almost too late, almost. If not, meaning like sometimes it is unavoidable to run out of mana. You took this tower, right? So I look at, you expended a lot of mana to take this tower because you like ulted the guy and you used a couple W's and you got your Atos. So what I'm looking at is, at this very moment, you're getting your Atos, you know you're hitting a power spike, and you're low on mana and you need mana. So at this moment, what should you be thinking?
Well, I need mana.
Okay.
Where should I... Yeah, where can I get a mana?
Yeah, how do I get it, right?
Yeah.
So obviously the most efficient thing to do is Shrine, right? So if you watch my stream, I usually just ping. I don't even look at them. I just do this. Like, I just ping the minimap, like, because it tells you the cooldown on the Shrine. Can I do it in replay? I can't. Okay, I usually just ping the minimap. Like, that's all I do, like, without even having to look. But the other option, you can just look. Minute, 2 minutes. Way too long. Too long. Like, you have no mana. So, you see some stacks, sure, okay? You want to use some clarities to farm these stacks real quick. It doesn't have to be... What I mean is, it doesn't have to be instant, but you walked back, you farmed this camp, and I think you have to go back to base right fucking now, and you have to be strong on the map again. People in your bracket give away so much for free that I think is unnecessary. So you farm and you go back to mid, and I just look at this as a level 6 gyro that, look at that, he actually lives in shit because you don't have mana, but you coincidentally get a regen rune. So, oh well, never mind anything I just said because you got a regen rune. I mean, it is still the same, but it worked out this time around. You kind of got a little bit lucky. So you did take this guy's tower, you walk back and you pressure, you're going to keep doing the same thing, okay. And he dies, easy game. Go ahead and player perspective it up again. Okay. Right now your team is... Okay. Let's see this. You didn't even look. So... how do I word that? I always think about how to describe this to people. It's never perfect. So, when lanes are shoved in, you basically are given an invitation or permission to do whatever the fuck you want on the map. Okay? Like, that's basically what it means. If your lane is shoved in, whenever you watch mid laners, they always rotate immediately after they shove a wave. Okay? So, if you jungle after you shove a wave, what are you implying about the situation of your hero in the game? What are you telling me?
That I don't understand what to do with this hero.
That either you don't understand what to do, or you have consciously chosen that there is nothing to do. So,
yeah.
Coincidentally speaking, if you are now allowed to rotate because your lane is pushed, what lanes will you generally rotate to?
Once again?
Sorry. So if you are now allowed to push because you pushed your lane, right?
Yeah.
What other lanes will you generally go to? The ones that are pushed.
Okay.
I know. I'm not trying to give you it's a little bit of a weird question, but because you push your lane, you can rotate, and almost all your rotations are the ones that are pushed. It doesn't have to be for your team. Why would it maybe be for the other team? Like, why could they be pushing the wave? Why would you rotate then? If they're pushing the wave into your tower. Like, what if this wave was here? And the opponent's pushing your tower with 2 heroes? Why would that maybe give you a reason to rotate?
Well, to save the tower and push the lane.
Yeah, because you're protecting an objective and you have, like, the ability to just walk behind them, right? Like, they're far up on your side of the map. On the other hand, if your team's pushing the tower, why would it benefit you to rotate here?
To, like, push that tower.
Yeah, and so what's the only way the opponent's going to stop this Jugg from taking the tower?
If they all TP top?
Yeah, if they TP top. Are you a hero they want to fight right now?
No.
No. So, if you go top, what's the 2 situations that can happen?
Either we take the tower or they come and, like...
Either they commit, like, 5 heroes to stop you, in which case you back off. Which, in that case, you brought 1 hero extra to bring 5. Or they all die because they bring, like, 2 or 3 heroes, and you guys just kill them one by one. I guess there's technically 3 options based on how heavy their commitment is. So these are the type of questions you can ask yourself to clarify rotations. So I would say 90% of rotations are to a lane that is either pushed to your own tower or pushed to their tower. Conveniently speaking. What I mean by that is the minute you pushed in this lane, is this lane at the tower?
Almost.
But is it at the tower?
Yeah. Well, my lane, you mean?
Sorry, the lane down here, is it at their tower? And do you have a hero making it at their tower?
No.
No. Is this lane at their tower?
Yeah.
Yes. So when you, like, if this lane was right here, these are lanes you have to instantly consider rotating to, okay? Like, you have to consciously decide to not rotate to those lanes, okay? So, like, if I kill this wave what I told you at the start of the session was I'm going to give you things to think about. Okay, so when you clear a wave as a carry, as a mid laner, it's especially as a mid laner, but it's same as a carry. When you clear a wave, you then have the choice to go to other lanes to do stuff. So the lanes that you generally will go to are the ones that are pushed against you or pushed for you at someone's tower, because that means there's an objective to be threatened or an objective to be protected. So the minute you kill a wave, check what the other two lanes' equilibrium is. You don't even have to like necessarily like the best way to do it if you see really, really, really good players is they always check like they literally click the wave, like they'll move their player perspective right here and check it. And what I'll do is I'll look at the minimap, see that this wave has like 5 of our own creeps or something, and then I'll click it and see what the situation is up here. Because what I'll do is I'll kill this wave, walk my hero here, because why here? From here, why here? If I see what's going on top. Why here?
Like I'm quite safe there and could possibly rotate. Okay, there.
So you see it, right? Because if I'm right here, by the time I'm walking from right here to right here, I've either decided to rotate top or go to jungle. And this is right in between the two of them.
Okay.
So I know my option is to either jungle or rotate. I see the lanes, I'm not rotating here. I see I could potentially rotate here. So from the time, like right when I kill this wave, that's what I'm thinking. So as I kill this wave, I'm clicking my hero here, and then I'm using the time it takes my hero to travel from here to here to gauge whether or not I want to rotate or jungle. So I see this simply as a missed opportunity right here because you're misgauging your strength. And what I think is if you a lot about what goes into these rotations is, am I strong? Do I want to be doing something right now? So like, and I asked you, are you strong? And you're like, yeah. So like, do they want to fight you? No. Like a lot of skill at the highest level of Dota is knowing the opponent can't do shit to you. Like that's actually a really hard thing at the highest level against like other players that are really good. So your bracket, if you think to yourself like, I'm really strong and like I see my guy push, I'm just gonna walk there, right? Like these are things where if you overdo it, it's better than it is to like skimp out on it. Like, it's better to overdo it and, like, rotate too much like this after you clear a wave. After you clear a wave, like, I'm just emphasizing that again. Because the goal is you don't want to miss farm. I'm not telling you to just rotate running around the map constantly. I'm telling you, push a wave and then consider rotating. And if you see a lane shoved, go to it, right? Like, that's like the basics of this. And once you start doing that, you'll run into all kinds of issues, but I can't really... or all kinds of situations, but I can't really go much into depth on that. So, okay, so over-passivity starting now. Top tower just doesn't die for no reason. That's how I look at this situation. You commit 3 heroes for about 25 seconds, that tower dies. That's really efficient. Or they bring like 5 heroes and then that's all good too. Okay, so you go back to shoving mid. And then you TP top. I would say this is definitely over passivity again. So, when it comes to the dead lane idea, have you heard me talk about that before in my coaching sessions?
No.
Oh my goodness, is a complete newbie here. Okay, to the BSJ channel at least. So, the whole dead lane concept, I have a whole video on YouTube. Even more on Gamely, but the concept videos on YouTube for free. Is I told you the best objective to take is this tower for the opponent. The best tower to take is this one. So the natural progression that occurs is if you want to protect your objectives or play passive, you play here on this side of the map. If you want to play aggressive, you play on this side of the map. So if I'm a really strong hero, by TPing top, I am deeming that my most powerful use of my hero is to defend a tower. That is what I'm saying. If I go bottom, I'm saying the most powerful use of my hero is to push it. So I think that almost always, I would say 80% or more of the time, if you put your strongest hero in the dead lane, which is your own safe lane, past the laning stage, it is wrong. So if you never go to your own safe lane ever again as the strongest hero in the game, you'll probably gain MMR. But eventually you learn exceptions. Like you learn that it's not black and white. It's not 100%. It's like 80%. It's like 85%.
So this is an example where I think you're really strong, and you just TP to the worst part of the map, and you're not going to do shit. Like, you're going to get bullied away by 2 heroes or something. Maybe these guys just happen to feed you. I don't know. But, like, this doesn't feel good for you. This isn't efficient. You're sitting under your own tower now with no mana because you were forced to protect yourself. Now your Jugg comes back top, and you guys are going to maybe fight, and you have no mana. Like, this is just super awkward. This shit's terrible. Why would you ever want to be here with no mana? Like, are you going to take this tower now? No. So it's like, you're a really powerful hero that's now pushing the same tower I told you to push 2 minutes ago with no mana. And now you're going to maybe die. I don't know. This is super fucking bad. I feel like when I watch my games, 95% of stupid shit I see is my teammate TPing to their own safe lane and doing something like that. It still happens in 6K, okay?
Okay.
And you know what's incredible about this? Is I told you that was a garbage TP a minute and a half before you died. Isn't that nuts? Okay, like, that's what I try to process to people. Like, I can tell you it's bad because of the natural progression of what happens after you TP. When you TP, you can't go anywhere else. You're stuck here. So your choices are to jungle passively as one of the strongest heroes on the map, or to push that tower and feed randomly because your team is not going to come to that lane. They just don't. That's not what's going to happen. So, dead lane. Stop going to your own safe lane unless you think the most powerful thing you can do on the map is defending your tier 1 tower. Generally, this is something that's best learned not only by playing, but when you watch streams, see why they TP to their own safe lane and see how rarely they TP to their own safe lane. 90%, I would say, of my TPs to my own safe lane are me going bottom or mid, forcing 3 heroes there, and then TPing to my own safe lane. It's like me forcing them somewhere else, such that my own safe lane is now actually safe at this point in the game. Because if you just TP here casually, this will happen, like, a lot. Even at 3K. Even at 3K, they did it to you, right? Like, it's not... People don't realize that they're doing this to punish you. Like, they don't realize it, but they're doing it. They're like, oh, that guy's conveniently out of position. I'll kill him now. Like, they don't think about it, like, in terms of these concepts. But yeah, TPing your own safe lane, that's utter shit. Never do it again. I told that to my 5K players that, like, in the short term, if you don't TP your safe lane for the next 50 games, it'll make you a better player. If you're ever going there, just walk there. The only exception being if you go somewhere else, force 4 or 5 heroes there, and then you go to your own safe lane. That's, like, the only exception I think is common. Okay, so back to mid lane we go. Notice how you ask yourself why you don't feel like there's much you can do on the map. Every time you push a wave, your first reaction is to go jungle. Itch Nate on that, okay? You get an item that allows you to be aggressive, stop doing this shit. Stop pushing lanes and jungling. Push lane, walk to your team that sees an opponent carry underneath a ward. That is what I would say.
So walk straight bot.
Yeah, walk straight bot, absolutely. Yeah. Why? Because you see 3 heroes that this lane's pushed in, this guy's up top, like, this lane's not. So I would basically say, if you're being aggressive, most of your plays are here. Like, if you feel strong, most of your plays are here. And if you want to make plays in the opponent jungle as a hero like Viper, the requirement is that mid lane's pushed in. That's like that's a first and foremost thing. Almost always you'll not be making a good rotation if you don't push in the mid lane first. So, like, what I'm saying is it's not good for you to walk down here and then have this lane at your tower, okay? So if you're walking down here to gank, what is your quote-unquote timer until this gank is taking too long?
When the mid wave is pushed back to my tower.
Absolutely, right? Like, because I told you the prerequisite for you ganking is that mid lane gets pushed in. So you push in the lane and you look for a potential opportunity. During the time that you're looking for a potential opportunity, you're kind of in the back of your mind gauging that lane. And if something's gone static, meaning like nothing's happening, right? Like, these are the situations where nothing clear cut has happened. Where are you going? Back to the home that you like dictated as like, this is my norm. This is the status quo, which is pushing the mid lane. So you're literally just going to be mid lane, walking here, maybe farming this jungle camp, mid lane, walking here. You should have been doing this from like 9 minutes in. It's just that one rare exception where this lane was pushed to their tower and you killed this and you killed the creep wave and you could have just walked here for free. Well, that's just something where I told you that based on the fact that the lane's getting pushed. So this is a session where these questions, you're going to have to like post them on a sticky note while you're playing, and you're going to have to work on them one at a time, okay? Like the first game you play, maybe the first 2 or 3 games you play, you focus on, you know, if I'm playing Viper, am I in a matchup where I'm trying to shut him down or not? And then you base your skill build off that. And then, am I looking to be a passive or aggressive? If I'm looking to be passive, I push in the lane and I go to my own jungle. If I'm looking to be aggressive, I push in the lane. How far can I be aggressive? Like, these are all questions that you work on kind of one at a time, okay? And so that's why, you know, I put the replays on YouTube for you. You can just go back and, like, you know, take the session slowly. I'm kind of just cramming a lot of overwhelming information into one small session. So notice how I told you to go bottom. Guess where the fight happens?
Yeah.
Bottom, right? It's not a coincidence that these things I'm telling you add up. You go top, I said it's trash, you die at the tower. You don't go bottom, you're a strong hero, fight goes on bottom, your 3 teammates feed. These are things that I can only explain once for the sake of timeliness, but aggressive plays here. Except for like when this lane's pushed into your tower, that was a kind of an exception there. But passive plays up here. So when you passively TP'd up here is really bad because you're a strong hero. Aggressive plays should be down here, and then you missed an opportunity and your team all died. So, okay. This happens in a lot of my games. So now you TP bottom. I look at this as you could have been here the exact same way you were and not farmed this medium camp. So that medium camp cost you a TP that then pins you on the bottom half of the map. Why would it be bad to pin yourself on the bottom half of the map? Think about it. Every time you TP, you're pinning yourself for 80 seconds. Why would that be bad?
Well, the flexibility to go back to another lane.
Absolutely.
Happens,
If your home is mid lane and you have a TP, how long are you allowed to stay bottom? Until the wave's actually at your tower, right?
Okay.
If you don't have a TP, how long are you allowed to stay bottom? However long it takes for these creep wave to get here and however long it takes you to walk there, right?
Okay.
So what I'm trying to say is you go bottom, which ends up being the right play. But in exchange for losing your ability to be anywhere you want on the map, you farmed a medium camp.
Okay.
So on top of this, try to ferry yourself more clarities. You should probably have a clarity constantly running this entire game, by the way.
Okay.
Something to think about. You're constantly sitting at like half or lower mana. So notice how... Okay. This is a whole nother subject. We're probably going to go to the next game in like 5 or 10 minutes here. There's a whole nother subject here. I mean, like, I'm going to get both your games in for sure, obviously. So, if the opponent groups up to kill your heroes, what are the 2 things they can do after that? After the fight dissipates, what are the 2 things they can do?
Well, they can push the tower.
Okay. So they group up and continue pushing, or
they split again and
start
push.
farming, right?
Yeah.
So if they do this, which they like, meaning they grouped up and got a kill, what is the only... Are you going to get objectives? Are you going to take any objectives? There's a lot of questions that go into this. Are you going to take any objectives while they kill your team?
Well, I should, but I think I'm not.
You can't. I'm sorry. You're a Viper.
Yeah,
you're not like some split pushing tower taker, right? Your Jugg could definitely be pushing top right now. But the point is, are you guys gonna like go siege a tower while they're killing your team, like after they're done? No, you're not gonna go siege a tower. The only thing you can do is if you're actually next to a tower as this is happening, right? Like you could maybe hit it while this is happening. But the minute it's over, are you still sieging that tower?
No.
No. So if your team is not taking any objectives, what's your only concern? If the opponent just won a fight, what objective they're going to take, right? Like if you win a fight, your first consideration should be what objective can we take off this fight? So if the opponent wins a fight, your first thing should be what objective could they take off this fight? Do you see what I'm saying? So this is a little advanced, but it's something to think about. So every time people group up, you need to think, what objective are they threatening? Am I going to fight them, or am I going to represent split push pressure elsewhere? Like, so it's basically you're dealing with it directly or indirectly, okay? So right now you kill the mid wave, and you see that they're bottom, and they grouped up. If they're going to take an objective, which one is it? Is it mid?
No,
because you just shoved that in, right?
Yeah.
So by actually shoving this wave in, you've eliminated mid as a possibility. Because if this wave doesn't get shoved, say you were jungling back here, couldn't they turn this fight one into a mid push if the wave's right here?
They could, yeah.
Yeah, right? Because it's technically closer than this tower because this wave's all the way back here. So what I'm thinking is that if they're going to push a tower, it has to be bottom. And how long do I have to get there? Based on lane only.
How long?
I'm asking you, like, based on where you see the lane equilibrium, by the time they get this fight win, how long do you have to get bottom?
Like 15, 20 seconds.
At least. I'd say probably 30 or 45, honestly. Yeah. So the point is, at least 15 to 20. So, what conveniently takes about 15 to 20 seconds after you push this mid lane? Walking to the bottom lane. Right? Okay. So the way I look at this is, you've been mindlessly pushing this wave and farming these two camps for the last 8 minutes. These two camps signify that there's literally nothing for you to do on the map. You are completely passive. These are the safest two camps for you. So earlier I mentioned you were like against a level 4 gyro. Why are you not farming this camp aggressively instead of these two camps? There's the other time where this lane's pushed in and I'm telling you, why aren't you walking here instead of farming these two camps? These two camps are a bait. The minute you get an Atos, you can just ixnay these camps off the map. You're not allowed to farm them anymore. Like, yeah, there's going to be times where you actually farm them, okay? But, like, it's just majority of the time, they're the most passive camps on the map. You should never be there ever again. So, like, how do I word this? So, earlier, notice how when I talk to my viewers, I generally tell them there's a difference between AFK farming and farming to create like pressure and do the right things, okay? So how is it any different for your own farming efficiency to farm these two camps than it is to farm these two camps?
I'm faster in the lane when I farm the other lanes, the other camps.
But are you actually getting any less farm if you go to these two camps than you are if you back off to these two?
Oh, no.
No, right? So I told you that the only objective the enemy team could ever push off of this tower is bottom, or after this win fight is bottom, right? So I tell my coaching sessions all the time, what camps do I jungle? If I am jungling, I am saying there's no lane for me to push. That is the first step I am saying. The second step is if I choose to jungle, what camps am I jungling? Do you know the answer to that question?
Yeah. Well, the one next to the tower.
The one next to the lane I would go to next.
Yeah. Okay.
So my question is, at any point in this game period, are you walking top? Are you going to push top?
Not now.
No. Okay, yeah. No. So at this point in the game, you're not going to be pushing top. So if you're in this jungle, what two lanes does that give you the option of? It gives you mid and top, right? Those are the two lanes you're next to? Or you're never going top. So these are half as good as these, because these give you mid and bottom, right? So what I'm saying is, if you're... The reason why players like... I'm giving an example of Universe is like kind of the player I noticed first when I was kind of getting better at the game. They're just always in the right place. And it's because he knows he'll never go top. So if he knows he could either go bottom or mid, he'll farm these two camps. And what is he gauging while he's farming these two camps? If the opponent splits up, where is he probably going? Like, if the opponent doesn't take an objective, where is he probably going after these two camps?
Maybe back to mid?
Yeah, right. Right back to mid. And if the enemy groups up, which we know the only tower they can group up for is bottom, where is he going?
Well,
bottom, right? So you did the exact same thing in terms of farm efficiency, but you had to blow a TP to get to the same place you shouldn't have to blow a TP to get to. So, like... Okay. And the reason why I'm emphasizing this TP is you need to know, as a hero like Viper, your job is to keep that mid lane shoved in. Heroes like Lina, Viper, these types of heroes, just keep the mid lane shoved in. So what TPing to bottom does is it makes it so you'll have to walk back to mid sooner because you know you can't just instantly TP back there. So just think about it in terms of your responsibility to pushing the mid lane. It makes it easier for you to push mid if you didn't have to TP somewhere else. And so generally speaking, if you have to TP somewhere else to gank, what are your two choices after that gank ends? So say it was 10 minutes in, your job is to push mid, and you gank bottom. What are your two choices right after you kill those guys?
We'll continue pushing bottom or going back mid.
Exactly. Perfect.
Yeah.
Those are your two choices. And it seems so simple now, right? Like, it's the same decision that the opponent has, right? Like, they're either going to push your tower bottom or they're going to split up. But a lot of people will just jungle. They'll just jungle. That's not a choice.
Yeah.
That is not a choice. The only time jungling is a choice is when you're like, okay, well, I can either push bottom or I can go push mid. And then you look bottom and you don't think you can push. Okay, so say you get the kill. You don't think you can push, and then your level 5 support is soaking levels mid. Then you can jungle, right? Because the two choices that you would do are already being done or not doable, right? So, like, that's when it becomes okay to jungle. But yeah, so I'm running so much past you, and like I said, I really highly emphasize you watch this thing back at your own leisure. One step at a time. Every stage of the game has a lot of random questions you can ask themselves. The questions are the same on every hero, just every hero answers them differently, is what I always try to describe. So you end up having to TP bottom. That guy conveniently dies to you. He should never be in his own safe lane, but it's okay. And now, when they bring 4 heroes here, because you TP'd, you have one choice, or two choices. Either walk somewhere else or just sit here. If you had your TP, you could have just, like, instantly TP'd mid and then, like, rejoin this fight. And so you'd be in the same spot where mid would be pushed, but this whole thing would be going on. Instead, your TP, 75 seconds ago, caused this. Okay?
The mid lane, yeah.
And it's so important. It's just so important as a mid laner. Just have that be the first, most forefront, basic thing. It's so basic, but yet even like 7K players I've seen don't do it sometimes, okay? Like, if you're a mid laner, you feel like you babysitting the mid lane. In terms of, like, that lane needs to get shoved. And it's, most of the time it's you, okay? Most of the time it's you on these wave clearing mid laners. If that lane's at your tower, you probably did something wrong, either like at that moment or earlier that caused it. So now you're walking back mid. Notice how that TP kind of cost you that. You do have them now, but it was like 5-second cooldown when I had last looked at it. So the opponent team's grouping up bottom. You immediately push mid. Back off. Okay.
Radiant's middle tower is under attack.
So if this is just a clarity problem. You just need to you need to fly yourself way more clarity, so way more.
Okay.
I know I said that already, but like you shouldn't really have to use that shrine. And I think right now, when the opponent groups up, you have two options: fight them directly, or split push. What right there could you have done instead of shrining if you had mana? Right here. What could you have done instead of shrining if you had mana?
We'll continue pushing mid, I guess, or helping top, or TPing straight to bot.
I'll give you, there's only one answer left.
Going top?
Going top! It's an option, isn't it? Like, why is a lane that's getting shoved by your carry not an option when they're doing this shit? Right? It's not,
true.
is that, you know what I'm saying? So these are the situations that you create when the opponent is forced to decide between pushing a tower or dealing with you. And then they separate because they're bad. Like, and they don't know. And then so if you see two of these heroes TPing to stop you, what should your immediate reaction be? Like, if you go top and you see two of these heroes TPing away, what should you do?
Well, depending on the heroes, staying top, fighting.
Get them bottom, guys! They're alone! They only have 3 heroes! We can get 5! Fuck them up! That's what you do. If you hear me on my stream where I'm like, guys, they don't have this hero, or like there are only 3 of them here, get them. It's like the whole point of you going top right now is to force them to make a choice. And I assure you, even at the highest level, when players are forced to make a choice, they make mistakes. They are pressured. They have to make a choice. So if people make a mistake at my level, I assure you, they make like 50 times as many mistakes at your level. So
Okay.
This is a situation where, you know, you definitely have neutered yourself as a growth of a player by these two camps being just too safe for you in this area in general. So I think you deciding to TP bottom is perfectly acceptable one way or the other. But your choice should not be between jungling two camps and showing up. It should be choosing between pushing the tower top and showing up. Do you see the difference here?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. So for the most part with players, I generally worry much less about this decision being correct as I do the setup to the decision being correct. Okay? Because like once you set up this decision properly, that's when you can actually start making the proper calls one way or the other. Meaning that, like you may say, BSJ, how do I know whether or not to show up to fights? If you're not setting yourself up to choose between top tower and this fight, you're not giving yourself the right decision. So I can't actually teach anything about how to make that decision properly. You get, like, you see where I'm coming from there?
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
so that's why in this type of situation, I'm not really concerned about whether or not this was correct for you to show up. The first step for you is setting it up so you have more choices. Okay, we're going to end this game here. I'd say 20 minutes is usually a really good portion of the game to work on. My emphasis to you, all of the decisions become the same as the game goes on. They just become more complicated. That's all there is. There's more shit that kills you. There's more factors. There's more items. People have levels and, like, talents and shit that affects the game. All the decisions are honestly the same. It just becomes way more fucking complicated. That's why I usually don't worry about going too much further. So you do end up winning that game, but now you have a Juggernaut loss. Let's go ahead and pull this one up here. Any comments on this replay before we get into it?
I remember that I had pretty good farm at the beginning and then kind of lost myself into farming and finally lose the game, yeah.
Okay, so yeah, I look at their heroes. You have a 14-0 and 14 Bloodseeker. That's insane. Okay, let's go ahead and check this out. I don't have too much to say. I always like to hear your initial impression of the game, though. Okay. So, all I want to remind you from that last game is don't think about the fact that I told you in that specific situation to go top. Think about, like, the fact that I told you what lanes are pushed. That gives you an option to rotate. The triggers that can make you think about rotating. That's the emphasis I want to make. The specific situation is not important. The questions asked leading up to it are what important. Okay, so. Okay. Nice.
It's usually the beginning where I like have a clear idea until my first item, and then even item choice, I wasn't quite sure in this game what to do after, like building the Battle Fury, for example.
Generally speaking, on Jugg nowadays, I don't think Battle Fury is really a thing. I feel like most people will go Drums Maelstrom as opposed to Battle
Even
Fury.
if you have like free farm.
Yeah, I think that like your ability to solo kill people is just so much better with drums because you just ult, you drums and then ult because the ult buffs your attack speed by what 1.7. Yeah, so drums give you like 70 attack speed on your ult effectively. And they're really cheap in their mana regen, so it lets you just spam spin as well. And obviously stats are good for Jugg because his end game's really bad. So like, you're gonna see here when I start talking about missed aggression opportunities that the reason why drums is better, and it's only if you make use of it, is because if there's a lot of aggressive situations that you could not be aggressive if you go Battle Fury, but you could be very aggressive if you go drums. And then you, like, what I do for Jugg in this current patch is I go drums, and then I decide, am I continue to being very aggressive, in which case I go Diffusal. Am I not continuing to be very aggressive, and I go Maelstrom. Like, that's, like, my choice. And then from there, sometimes in rare exceptions, I'll go Manta if they have, like, I'll go drums Manta if they have, like, 2 silences or some shit, you know, like, a lot of ways of silencing me. So in this game specifically, I would have gone Probably Drums Manta Diffusal, if I'm looking at this game specifically, or Drums Manta Maelstrom. Kind of depends when I get to that point in the game. It's not something you can always dictate, like, you know, at the start of the game. You kind of have to see how the game's playing out, kind of thing. Okay, so right now, you flew yourself Boots Quelling. Okay, not a huge fan of using the Courier for something you could have bought from the side shop, but just something to consider. Okay. Gonna emphasize the lane equilibrium to you. So lane goes into your own tower. Right here. It's really important that you aggro this creep for a really long time. Basically, the idea of lane equilibrium is always gauge whether or not it's pushing or not. Gauge where. Okay, these are the crucial questions with lane equilibrium. What is the lane doing? What do I want it to do? What can I do to fix it if it's not doing what I want it to do? So where do you want the lane right now?
Like right there.
Right here. What is it doing?
Now.
Yeah.
Pushing.
Pushing.
Like
right?
my lane is pushing. Yeah.
Yeah. So what can I do to fix this?
Not hitting the creeps.
Okay, you very minimally hitting the creeps, and then every time one of my creeps gets below half, I hit it, right? And also drawing aggro of the enemy creeps and not de-aggroing it also adds up too, but that's like less common, but something you should obviously pay attention to. So what I see here is like right when this happens, I'm like denying the shit out of this creep right here, right? Like auto attack denying that creep. I'm doing this and then auto attack denying this creep right here. And notice how what happens is your creep wave gets there like a second before the opponent creep wave gets to your range. Okay? And because of that, your range lives, and now the lane's shoved.
Okay.
If you had not drawn that creep aggro from that range creep for as long as you did, and you had then auto-attack denied your own creeps, you could have made this like a normal wave. So it's just something where those three questions become very easy to ask yourself. Okay? Most players in your bracket actually know where they want the lane. Most of the time, they do. So where do you want the lane? What is it doing? What can I do to make sure it stays there? Like, or like if the lane's all the way up here, what are your considerations? Like if you want the lane back here and it's all the way up here.
Yeah, like tell your support to pull the lane back.
So for you personally, if your support's not doing it, how do you decide whether or not you continue laning or you go pull it yourself?
When I'm not able to farm anymore.
Yeah, basically saying like which one's more efficient for me, taking the time out of my day to go pull this camp, or just sitting here because it's like I'm still farming decently or whatever. So like that's just important to know that you can do it yourself. So at this point, I'm looking and saying the lane's pushing. I'm probably telling my support to go pull. Something you consider, like you know the lane's gonna push. You know the lane's gonna be up there in the near future. Okay, so let's see. And this was all because of that, like, lack of discipline to keep the lane back earlier. Okay. So you go straight Battle Fury.
Dire's top tower is under attack.
So in your bracket, generally speaking, I think you get away with casual rings of health a lot because the opponent doesn't build properly either. So I guess what I'm trying to say is if like you're against an offlaner that goes like phase boots and like a stat at him, and you go brown boots, like if I go boots ring of health and they have phase boots, guess who's shitting on who?
The one with phase boots.
Yeah, the guy with 18 damage and 6 armor as opposed to the guy with 5 health regen. So I'm just like giving you an idea. I'm equating those because you know the upgraded phase boots cost about the same amount of gold as the ring of health. So what I would say is there was a lot of poor lane equilibrium management that led to you taking more damage, which then led to you needing this ring of health. So like a lot of people would say, BSJ, I have this ring of health like I need this ring of health for sustain. It's like, no, you needed to not push the lane out, and then you needed to fly yourself the blade of attack for your phase boots and fly yourself an extra tango or two when you fly yourself that blade of attack. Like, that's my response, right? Like, that's where the sustain comes from, you know? Like, I saw you go bottle and not buy, like, a single clarity all last game. Like, this is the equivalent of buying, like, you should have bought blade of attack and some tangos. And you'll just notice that there's so many opportunities that are missed if you don't have the right items or just the right sustain, the right health. Like last game we saw how many times you were forced to be passive because of no mana, or no mana, I think it was last game. This situation, you're kind of in this awkward health state. You've bought another item that could have been bought from the side shop that you bought at base. A lot of things are piling up. You'd be amazed how many players I believe are stuck at 3K because their shop and courier usage is trash. It's actually a huge deal. It's like pretty hard to like quantify exactly how much it limits you, but it does significantly. So luckily these guys are kind of feeding you despite the fact that you have these. So we're going to kind of ignore your items in the sense that like it's not much to teach with that, and since like I can't tell you could have been doing this, you could have been doing that, not really. So you're kind of playing this passive game. Let's see what you do with your items. Okay, so you're still getting kills because they're kind of just jumping on top of you with suicide. Let's fast forward. You're going to have like a fucking... You're going to have like an 11-minute battle fury. So this game I feel like I'm going to focus a lot less on the laning stage, and I'm just going to focus on what you do with your farm. Because I don't think there's
that was actually the problem then.
Yeah.
Because I had quite early the battle fury, and then, had the same problem again, like with the Viper game, where I don't have any map awareness and...
Absolutely.
wander planless around.
Okay, so... Are you going to pressure these guys with Brown Boots, Perseverance, and no spin?
No.
Okay. So what could you do right now instead of walking up to this tower?
Going back to the creep camp.
Okay, and are you going to farm the creep camp with this health, mana, and this situation?
No. Then
so what are you going to do?
Go back to Shrine.
Oh, why not just stack this camp and then go get the bounty?
Yeah.
Right?
Well,
so these are all options. I'd say going back to the shrine, stacking the camp, and getting the bounty rune. So I get this kill. Whenever I get kills, whenever I win a fight, what is the first question I ask myself?
What can I do now?
Yeah, what objective can I take with these kills, right? Like, obviously these guys are just feeding you. I'm not telling you not to kill them. I'm telling you, like, now that you killed them, what are you going to be able to do with it? And I ask myself that every single time. Every time. And I just look at my shit and I'm like, I'm not strong enough to pressure this tower, so... there's just no way in hell I'm ever walking up to this tower. Like, there's just no hesitation. I'm not wasting any fucking time at this tower because I just can't do anything. It's like, if we kill those guys and I have phased drums and spins off cooldown, for damn sure I'm going to be pressuring this tower, right? Like, it's just a question you have to ask yourself. I know you're doing this not because you think you can pressure the tower, but because you're not asking yourself whether or not you can pressure the tower, right? Like, that's you don't think to ask yourself that question. So, like, if you ask yourself right now if I can pressure this tower, I assure you, you would come to the conclusion that you could not. So, don't do this, right? Like, this creep camp, where's this creep wave going to be 15 seconds from now? Is this creep wave going to die? There's the opponent creep wave.
No, mine is going to die.
Yeah, yours is going to die, right? So, during this time, stack, pick up bounty, go back to lane to farm these creeps that are going to be right there for you, right? Same thing, same result with a bounty rune and a stacked camp, right?
True.
So it's just efficient use of time. And meanwhile, your team's kind of... I mean, you kill the techies, but you trade 1 for 1. This isn't even good. Okay, so now you go Shrine. You do have a Battle Fury at 10 minutes. Pog. Okay. So, if I buy a Battle Fury, what does that mean? That I want to do with my time?
Farm.
Okay. So, I look at their heroes. What heroes on their team are kind of good against my hero?
Well, let me think. Bloodseeker? I think he... No.
He's okay. He's okay.
Yeah.
When does he kill me?
When he got Rupture on me.
So, I have to be, like, out of position and forced to run away, right?
Yeah.
Is he ever going to kill me underneath my own tower or anything like that?
No.
No, okay. What about these other heroes? Do you want to fight a Necro's Jugg at this stage in the game?
No.
Okay. So, if I had thought about these things ahead of time, and I have a Battle Fury, and I've already decided because I understand this matchup, or at least tried to.
Yeah.
If I see a Necro, what the fuck am I doing?
Run away.
Get the fuck out. Like, why the hell am I still here, right? Like, I don't want to be against a Necro at 10 minutes in when I have a Battle Fury. So the minute you see this Necro, what should you do?
go back to, I think, other camps, maybe.
Just walk away, right?
Yeah.
And then while you're walking away, what can you decide? Between camps or what?
Or I think maybe on.
Any other lane, right? Any lane. So you're not going to be bottom anymore. Would you go mid? Why not mid?
Why not mid?
Why don't you go mid right now?
Because my Razor is in the mid lane.
Yeah, you're going a little robotic, but I heard you. Yeah, absolutely. Razor's in the mid lane. You're not going to go there. What about top?
Yeah. Bloodseeker is top.
Okay, is he killing you underneath your own tower?
No, probably not.
Okay, yeah, but if you have no Omni Slash, no mana, and no spin, probably not. So where should you TP if you want to go top?
To my shrine.
Absolutely, right? So while this is happening, you're just going to TP shrine, camp, lane, camp, lane, camp, lane, right?
Yeah.
But you're not going to be with this Necro. When are you going to leave this area?
Sorry, this area now, or?
Like, I'm saying this area on the map right here. When are you going to leave this? When the Necro comes. Like, if Necro walks this way, he's pretty immobile, right? So it's going to take him a while to get there. When he walks this way, where are you going to go from here? Just walk this way.
Yeah.
You know, just walk to these camps, right? So it's like, when you're a farming hero, I just look at what heroes on the map give me good matchups. What heroes do I want to lane against? Some games, there's none. Like, you're so far behind, you can't lane against anybody. In some games, there's just one or two. The easy games to learn from are the ones where there's one or two. In some games, you're just the most powerful hero on the map, and you hit your own jungle creep camps, you know? That we might have had that experience, you know, some point today. So, sorry. So, basically, in this type of game, I look at their heroes and I say, I can't push towers because I'm against Pudge Bloodseeker. I just get ruptured, I try to run away, I get hooked, I die. I don't want to contest Necro otherwise. So I'm just going to farm my side of the map away from Necro, and then I'm good. That's all. That's pretty much my own requisites. And I think about this stuff at 10 minutes, at the point in the game where I'm deciding I want to keep farming. Okay?
Okay.
So, in the other game, the questions I asked you about Viper, you were the strongest hero in the game. Nobody scares you. So you were just saying, what the fuck do I want to do on the map? In this case, you're not the strongest hero on the map, so you're saying, what do I want to do? Who threatens me? Where do I go to avoid, like, you know, who am I avoiding on their team? So you see this Necro, and you should definitely be like, oh, what the hell is he doing here? Get out. And you just walk away. The nice thing about heroes like Jugg is you're pretty survivable, so, like, you can get away with maybe being a little bit delayed on your decision-making, and then, like, why is this Necro not just scything you? What's happening here? Okay, luckily he just dies. I don't think this should ever work. But it worked out. You're a Jugg with a Battle Fury, no stick, no phase boots, and you're fighting. Generally speaking, that means you're doing something wrong. Okay, so back to the camps, rotate through the jungle, mid lane's occupied, top's occupied, bottom's occupied. Making my way top, making my way down top, walking fast, faces past, I'm homebound. Please go top. Okay. So, basically, what did we say about bottom? What is this lane? We don't want to be here most of the time. So, what I'm thinking is, could your team be doing this without you?
Probably yes, with the wards and...
Exactly. So, like, what about top? I just look at that top and I'm just teary-eyed up inside that there's an ancient camp with a Battle Fury not being farmed, and that there's just a tower dying for free that is being taken by a Bloodseeker. Who pushes towers, Bloodseeker or Jugg? Who pushes them better? Yeah, okay, so if you're trading evenly, who does that benefit?
The Bloodseeker.
Okay, cool. So, just about what the questions I'm asking you are a lot about understanding what parts of the map mean what. Yeah. So, if I'm farming, if you watch players, pay attention to where they farm. How often do they buy a Battle Fury and farm their own safe lane? And if they do farm their safe lane, what made that an exception? What made that the place on the map they wanted to play? It's always a specific reason, meaning the opponent showing 4 heroes top. Or you look at their hero and they're a Jugg when the enemy team has no BKB piercing disables, so they can just spin TP out of anything. But notice how, where do 99% of the dumbest ass plays in the game occur?
On the safe lane.
On your own safe lane. Have we noticed that, right? How many times have you casually fed in the opponent's jungle? Zero.
Never.
Zero.
Yeah.
No, that doesn't happen because it's
Yeah.
the right place to be. So you got the classic, haven't watched the BSJ channel. I'm somehow still 5K. No, I'm sorry. I'm just bitching about my teammates now. I haven't watched the BSJ channel. I haven't learned what the dead lane is. He talked about it at TI and everything. Stop going here! Yeah, it's working out, but this is just so, like, I just look at the top half of the map. It's so free for you. Like, it's so free.
Yeah.
And you're just a Battle Fury Jugg that's fighting, right? Like, that's, like, what you'll learn is if you go to your own safe lane, why is it such that the enemy team keeps fighting you when you're here?
Because they see an opportunity to kill me.
What's their best objective on the map for them?
To kill me?
Tower-wise.
Tower. Yeah.
Which one?
Yeah. Well, to push our safe lane tower.
So if you are putting yourself on the part of the map that they want to take, and you're the carry, where are they gonna go? They're two birds with one stone right here, right? So like that's the whole idea is why it becomes the most dangerous lane. Why you're not supposed to play there, because if you're a farming carry, because you're giving them two things at once. You're giving them you and the objective like that they want to take. So it's like, notice how none of them are playing top anymore. Why aren't they playing top? Is that top tier 2 do anything for them?
No.
No. So why is it good for you to be there? Because that shit doesn't do anything for them, right? Like,
True.
like almost every game you ever watch, the opponent team, like say you're Radiant and they're Dire, when are they playing this area? When is the opponent invading this area? You probably don't know this answer, but maybe you can try.
Well, my top tower when they are, well, when I'm there probably. When
Yeah, so
lane,
I would say at least 75%, maybe 90% plus of the time they're here, this tower's already dead and this tower's dead.
Okay.
Like why? So why are they playing here instead of here or here? Because they don't have any reason to play here anymore, right? Like they already killed the towers, but like their first priority: tower, then invade. That's what happens like 90% of games. So if they haven't taken this tower yet, what's that saying to you about this part of the map? If they have not taken this tower,
it's probably
it's just
safe
free. It's just free.
Yeah.
And the point is, if they're gonna come here as 3 or 4 heroes, then what are you allowed to do? If they come,
go back to the
you're allowed to go back to the safe lane. Exactly, right? Yeah. So it's like, the way I look at it is, if I'm here, I'm creating pressure. If I'm here, I'm relieving it. So if I go to my safe lane, and I saw them for top, they're going to see me bottom, right? And they were initially going top because they saw me there, right? Like, that's why they went there. So if I go bottom, what are they most likely going to do?
They go bottom too.
They go bottom too. So, if you're bottom just to relieve some pressure, after you push like 1 or 2 waves, what are you going to do?
Go top again?
Yeah, but do you have a TP?
Yeah. No.
No, because you TP'd, right?
Yeah.
So what are you going to do? You're just going to farm your way back there, right? You're just going to hit jungle creeps along the way. Like, you're just going to walk back and kill some creeps as you're going. How many creep camps are you allowed to farm?
Well, all on the way.
It's purely based on safety. Like, if you see them running here, then please, for the love of God, don't farm these 2 camps. Maybe even that one. But if you see them, like, right here, yeah, just farm, you know, wipe the entire map. Like, take it all. But that's purely based on safety. But the point is, your home is not the safe lane, okay? Your home is the top lane, and the exception is the safe lane. So, like, earlier I told you your home is mid lane as the Viper, and your exception is anywhere else that you would rotate to. But after you're done rotating, you're considering going back to there. So what I'm saying is, as a Viper in that mid game, if you're not in the mid lane, there's a very specific fucking reason you're not in the mid lane, okay? Like a very specific reason. In this game, if you're not top, there is a very specific reason why you are not top. Like, once you are farming. Once you get this Battle Fury, you are top unless something specifically, either they 4-man drive you out of top, or there's some team fight going on at your tier 1 bottom. Why do you think your entire team is fighting bottom right now?
Because all the opponents are bottom fighting.
Why are all the opponents bottom right now? I'll give you a hint. It has something to do with the guy that's dead right now.
Oh, because of me, yeah.
Yeah, if you go there, the opponent's going to go there, and if the opponent goes there, your team goes there. So guess what? You single-handedly have dragged the entire team to the wrong part of the map. Does that alarm you a bit? Like, to realize how much impact you have as a carry to dictate where fights happen on the map? If you're top, where are the fights happening? Either your team's just being Papago, which still happens in my games, and they're fighting here anyway, or you're getting, like, towers and shit because you're fighting up here, right? Like, that's the point. So the whole idea is this cause snowball effect of you playing bottom makes, honestly, everyone end up being bottom. Like it's just what happens, because your teammates know you're going to shove the waves. Like, they think this, you know, innately in their head. They don't really think it through, but it just happens. And they see that you're shoving waves. You're the lane shover, so if you're bottom, they're going to make plays bottom. And, like, so if you want plays to be made other than bottom, you need to not be bottom. Like, I used to be bad enough to think, like, if I was bottom and I was pushing the wave, why is my whole team here? Go do something else. Well, like, if you're not pushing the wave, what is your team doing? Nothing. There's nothing for them to do on the map. So we get here eventually. It's 20 minutes in. I'd say, in generally speaking, you should watch other players for this to learn a bit. But also realize that 10 minutes in, I'd say almost every game you'll want to be in the top half of the map as Radiant, bottom half of the map as Dire. Majority of players in your bracket spend way too much time in their own safe lane. Notice how much time you've spent here. You're treating it the opposite, where your home's bottom and then sometimes you'll go top. You should just... I guarantee you that's at least 500 MMR if you just swap that.
Okay.
Just swap it. I actually guarantee it. Like, it's actually so astronomical how big of a difference it makes. You'll farm safer, you'll farm faster, and you'll make... Like, you'll just randomly have people feed you, because they're not doing this. Like, they're not making this happen. Okay, so... Okay, so here we are top, fast forwarding... Go for the Manta. You were going to go SNY, but you realize these silencers are a problem. Something that I kind of told you at the start, but, you know, it's something where you can start gauging this at the start, but better late than never. Like, you know, you wasted the 450, but that's okay. Hey, guess what? When was the first time a good play happened?
Well, now
when you were top and the opponent went to their own safe lane. Isn't that crazy? Like, isn't it nuts? Guess what? This TP, acceptable if your team wasn't showing. Like, the only problem I have with this is you didn't really let your team get away. Okay, they're fine now.
I remember.
Okay, well, it's fine now. Yeah. It's fine now. But notice how I'm okay with you coming bottom. Why?
Because all are top.
All of them were forced top in the first place. So, what did you do now, right? You pushed in bottom lane. Do you keep going?
I'm not sure.
Does it benefit you in any way to keep going? Are you taking that tower?
Probably not.
If you don't push that wave, are they taking bottom tower?
No.
No. So does it do anything to kill that wave?
No.
No. Right? So now what do you do? Exactly what I said earlier, right? What are you doing now?
We'll walk back mid, I guess, on the way farming creeps.
Yeah, and you make your way back to top and mid. Top and mid is home. Make your way back there, farm the jungle all the way there, right? Like, that's all you gotta do. Out of bottom we go. Maybe send in Manta Illusions down wave. I don't hate farming this, but it doesn't really do, like, you just don't have to. Like, better players might punish you for doing that. The more waves you stay in the safe lane, exponentially more likely to randomly die. I can tell you that from personal experience. Notice how you've stayed bottom, mid lane, or top wave's never going to get pushed if you never go.
Okay.
So now you TP back top. Never do that. You should always be... Why is it so important you hold a TP in this specific game?
For
Rupture, right? Yeah, it just removes one of the primary threats on the map. Now you're locked here. Notice how many times I've told you you could have walked somewhere while farming instead of TP, like walking the wrong direction and TPing. It adds up. Okay, so now we're getting kills on Necro, Pog, okay. I think this all could have been happening without the TP. That's my only comment. All this is fine. It just didn't have to start with you TPing. Okay, so stop hitting jungle creeps. You killed heroes, towers. Okay, good. After this tower, what are we doing? Okay, we're going high ground. We still have Shadow Shaman wards. I'm not too happy about this, but I would have much rather what? What do you think was like a free objective here?
Well...
You're against Techie's Bloodseeker. Oh, what objective requires you not to walk into the opponent team? Roche?
Roche,
yeah, Roche was absolutely free there, and you should have just taken it.
Okay.
That's something to do with, like, how hard is it to push into their given lineup. So instead of taking a free Roche after this tier 2, we get the nice casual team wipe feed here.
Okay.
Like that's the general consensus. It's something that commonly happens in your bracket. Even in mine sometimes, but it just gets less frequent. You win this fight, you have 40 seconds. I'm immediately killing this tower, and then I see that they have Techi's Bloodseeker, and I'm going Roche.
Straight Roche. Okay.
Straight Roche. No question, don't even consider this. If you really think about it in hindsight, isn't it really obvious what just happened there was going to happen? Like, not the everyone dying part, but you walk up high ground into Techi's Mines and Bloodseeker W, you're not getting shit. Okay, so we just don't get Roche. Whatever. So if we fight them there... Okay, so... These are the best way I describe this. If we don't fight them here... I understand your team's feeding. If we don't fight them here... What's the map look like if we just don't fight them?
Lanes are quite pushed in.
Okay. And are we just free farming?
Yeah.
Okay.
I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. So, why? I know your team's dying, right? But but why? These are the type of situations where, ahead of time, if you think to yourself, why? Like, what the fuck is my team doing? It actually takes a lot of, like, confidence in yourself and, like, a lot of conviction to just be like, nah, not doing that shit. In this case, I just see this happening, I would have just walked bottom. Like, 100%. You have no Omni Slash. In this game, I'm looking and thinking, if you're in a team fight, they actually have a lot of ways to kill you, but if you're, like, dealing with any of their heroes individually, like, none of them kill you, right? Does that seem pretty accurate? Run into 5, they're kind of scary. Run into 1, they're not going to kill you. Like, none of their heroes solo kill you. So, that's a situation where Jugg commonly finds himself, is don't force fights when this situation is that description exactly. So suddenly, this 7k network lead probably going to turn into about 3k. Complete loss of map control. Probably Bloodseeker getting Aegis. Yeah, Bloodseeker gets Roche now, and the game is effectively ruined. Their #1 net worth hero now gets Aegis. And now this game's super fucking awkward. Okay. It's been about an hour and a half, and I think I don't need to see any more of this game to know that, like, 90% of the reason why you lost was that Roche. Yeah, like, there's all these little things I'm talking about, and it's really important that you emphasize. Like, I want you to focus on the little things I talked about in the mid-game when you got this battle fury. Not the fact that you guys chose to go high ground instead of Roche. That stuff's a little complicated, but in general, I see it happen a lot. You should definitely consider Roche very highly before you go high ground in any of your games. I would say a large majority of games you're going to go Roche before you go high ground. So really make sure you think to yourself more adamantly about Roche. Pretty much as any right-clicking carry, right? Jugg, Troll, or even PL, Terrorblade, these heroes all Roche now. So, okay. We talked about a lot in this session. I'm not going to bother reviewing it for you just because you have the whole session to review over as many times as you want. Just to make sure we take up your time at the end here wisely. Do you have any questions about anything I might have missed or I might have given you a poor description of in the midst of race carring my way through this session, because I make sure I get as much in there as possible?
No, I think for now it's okay. I mean, gave me a lot of information. Yeah.
Cool, man. It's a lot to digest, I know. And for you and everyone watching, I just want to reemphasize that, like, it's just one step at a time. And these are not things that one day you do them perfectly. These are questions that you learn to ask yourself and you learn to think about, and you just get better and better over time. And they just speed up your learning process because you're at least learning from your own mistakes. Because it's like sometimes if you realize how important it is that you push the mid lane on Viper or any mid laner, every time you take a fight and the mid lane's not pushed in, you can go look and see what happened in the replay of where you fucked up pushing that mid lane. You know what I mean? Like, and seeing, like, make sure you do it better next time. It's just like these little things that add up if you're thinking about them. So thanks for signing up, man. Feel free to, ask me any questions briefly on Discord. I usually offer that service if there's like something quick. I can't really like afford to look at your replays anymore, but if you have like
sure.
like a question saying I didn't understand this, or on this hero would you have built this, that kind of stuff that I can answer in like a paragraph. Okay, cool, man.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, no problem.
Have a nice evening.
Yeah, you too, man. Best of luck, or have a good day. Yeah. See you later.